Hey guys, this is Ruben Langdon, aka Dante from Devil May Cry, aka Ken Masters from Street Fighter, and also Chris Redfield from the Resident Evil series. And you are listening to the Kasanova podcast, the #1 podcast in Hawaii. Jackpot.
All right, and welcome everyone to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast and #1 podcast in the Pacific, the Kasanova podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova, and I've got the honor and privilege of having the one, the only MissThickems on the show. MissThickems, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. How's it going?
It's going good. It's been a busy day, busy week, but we almost at that weekend grind. So hey, it's looking good.
I love to hear it, man. I'm waiting for the weekend myself.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, tell people where they can find you and a brief introduction on yourself.
Okay. So, it's your girl, Miss T. You know that's me. You can find me on twitch.tv/MissThickems. Everywhere on social media, I'm under MissThickems or MissThickems TTV. You can find me, follow me, tag me. I'm always down for a convo.
Cool. And we're gonna dive into how you got into content creating, streaming. You also do modeling as well, and we're just gonna talk about the whole gambit. But look, off the top, I know you're a wrestling fan, so we gotta dive into that first. AEW or WWE?
WWE, hands down. That's not even a question. WWE all the way. Since, I was a little girl all the way up to now. I'm still supporting it. I'm still watching it. Even through the drought period where people are like, oh, you still watch WWE? Yes, I still watch it. Without a doubt, WWE.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm the same way. The way I look at AEW is too much... pardon my French, it's too much flips and shit. It's so choreographed. It doesn't look like when you got big guys like Luchasaurus and all these other huge, like Brian Cage and whatnot. They don't look believable doing stuff the cruiserweights are doing. What? I don't know.
Man, I tell you, no, I totally agree. I always tell people all the time, I feel like today's wrestlers don't sell it as good as it once was. Mm-hmm. When I've watched AEW, I don't want to knock it because I don't support it. Right now, I'm not completely following it. Mm-hmm. But I just wasn't sold on it. We did give it a chance. And WWE is, it's not any better, but I still seem to enjoy it a little bit more. So I just wish the wrestlers sold it just more. It ain't for me.
And what's your thoughts on the current WWE wrestlers compared to say the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era? It just seems to me, I don't know. I feel like one, they're too scripted, and that could be a Vince McMahon thing, but it just seems like they're not as hungry as the previous generations where people are like, yeah, we're going out on TV. We're going to make the damn thing happen. I don't know.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of potential with the current WWE roster. I do think you're right. Creative and Vince McMahon or whoever's calling the shots on those scripts, we got a question. But now that WWE has to cater to, their stakeholders and the public eye more than ever, we could compare it to Attitude Era. And we now know why. It's a huge difference. They're catering to just a different audience. But a lot of the wrestlers, just to name some off the top of my head, like Sasha Banks, Finn Balor, The Fiend, Drew McIntyre, they're good. But it's also how WWE delivers. I think that's something that we need to take into consideration.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone. Donut Gang, what's good? What's really good with y'all?
Shout out. Thank you so much for coming through, gang. Man, the support's real.
For real though. Okay, so I gotta ask, what's the origin behind Donut Gang?
Oh man. So it's nothing special really. It's kind of funny, like so I'm huge into Fortnite. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing since about season 3. And
Mm-hmm.
I was such a noob. I sucked when I first started. I used to play on Xbox and I was playing with PC players. So I was
Mm-hmm.
always thrown in the fire. And one day I was doing really good and we were winning. We had, I want to say, like more than 10 wins. And if anyone who started around that time, that's a pretty big deal if you're on Xbox playing with PC players.
Yeah.
So I noticed that we were all like using like these little donut symbols. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. We're the donut gang. And I don't know. I didn't think anything of it until one day I was streaming and I just kept saying it, and then people liked the way that I said it, and it just kind of went and ran with itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's one of the things, like, I feel like as content creators, like, after a while, we're gonna have something that we're just gonna be able to identify, like, as our, with our brand and also with like our audience. And it's like, I know a lot of people think like, oh, out of nowhere you're gonna come up with it. It's like, no, sometimes it's some of the most random shit that you'll come up with.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. Cause like I didn't understand why people like Donut Gang. I'm like, we never really eat donuts on stream or anything, but it just, and then we found actually, it was another streamer who made an emote as a gift, like my first ever emote, which was the Donut Gang symbol. And people started using it and it just ran with it. I'm like, we never really eat donuts, but whatever. If you guys like it, I like it. Let's go.
Yo, that's dope though. Yo, so okay. What got you into gaming? We got to know.
Okay. So as far as gaming, it's funny. It's just me and my brother. So I have a brother who's 5 years older than me and a sister who's 10 years older than me. So my brother used to play Super Nintendo and just was like, hey, you should try it with me. And we would try like Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario World. It was pretty popular at the time. And, I was just catching on and I just loved it. And we would play some of my first WWF game was actually like WWF Raw with like Hulk Hogan on the cover.
I remember that one.
We would play and he would teach me everything that I know today. And here I am. It's just awesome.
Nice. And then with like, if you were to say like some of your top 5 games growing up, what would they be?
Oh my God, it varied. I can't really say growing up, but I could give you some games that are like super important to me and just were like staples. One of them was Gears of War 3. I was so obsessed with that game and I was just so into it. I would say another big game in my life would be Stardew Valley. I'm huge into Stardew Valley. I'm actually obsessed with it now, and I'm just praying that they ever release a second one.
That game is mad good.
Yeah, that game it's so chill. It's just a little chill game. Fortnite is another one. I'm so obsessed with Fortnite. I even have like a Fortnite fleece. It's just gotten really bad. Anytime I go shopping, I see Fortnite, I have to grab whatever it is. I almost bought a real pickaxe. It was sick. Anything in the SmackDown series by like THQ, I would say like my favorite is probably SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, because Jeff Hardy is my favorite wrestler, so I love his character. It was probably the best out of any Jeff Hardy character. So I definitely say that, and just kind of throw another one out there. I have to mention maybe like NBA Live 19, because when I first started streaming, that was the game that really took my streaming career into like a little rhythm. And I streamed it for about a year, and it, it's just been history since.
Okay. So live or 2K? Which one?
It's tough. It's really tough depending on like what time period we're talking about. Like there was a time where NBA Live, was just amazing. Like everyone was playing it, and then 2K did take over. But I do enjoy both, and I always tell people like you can find pros and cons in each and find different things that you like in, each of the other.
Okay. Cool. So with, I know you mentioned SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. I feel like for a lot of us, if you had a PlayStation 2 back in the day, you were playing the SmackDown games because
and you had to.
I mean, literally, like comparing that to playing the SmackDown games compared to playing what we had on GameCube. You had WrestleMania 18, 19. You had the Day of Reckoning. The only good ones on GameCube was the Day of Reckoning games.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But compared to SmackDown, you had great gameplay. You had career modes with really good stories that branched. And then the Creator Wrestler was just leagues better than anything else. And we don't want to talk about Raw and Raw 2. Those were trash.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like a lot of the consoles had, really good wrestling games and some really bad ones. Like Nintendo 64, that period was amazing. Like No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000. Even till this day, if I'm streaming retro, people request those. So I'm like, I'm glad they didn't forget about it because it was a good time.
Yeah. Which it just makes me wish that, I don't know, like what's been going on with the most recent WWE 2K games. Like, okay, admittedly, I know you came through on my stream when I was doing 2K Battlegrounds, and I've come to really like it. It's a good step in the right direction. We haven't had an arcadey wrestling title in a while, but I feel like when it came to like WWE 2K20, that was a huge drop off from 2K19. I don't know.
Dude, I've played every single wrestling game as far as WWE that they've ever released, even different consoles. But what I saw when it came to WWE 2K20, I was like, yeah, this is probably the only game I'm not getting. And I didn't get. But I was ecstatic when I saw like the trailer for Battlegrounds. And I was like, all right, cool, arcade. Like we need this. I haven't seen this in a while. And I tried it and it was good. But I told you, once you get deep into that campaign, it gets insane. It gets so insane that I started to be like, hold on, I was enjoying it so much, but now I don't really know. I don't know. It put me through hell. It was crazy.
No, because you had even told me, because I remember on the stream, I was like, yo, this game's mad easy. Let me take the difficulty up. And you're like, you're going to want to take that back down to normal. Yeah. You get to the end of campaign. I got to the end of campaign. I was getting that work.
Yeah. Oh, so did you finish it?
Yeah.
Did you go up against like Undertaker? How was that for you? It was like Mission Impossible for me. I don't know how I survived it. I can't believe I finished that campaign. It was crazy.
No, it was wild. And it grew on me, like the comic book aesthetic. Like at first I didn't like it, but then I started to enjoy it after a while because it was something different, something we hadn't seen. So like, I didn't mind it. So
yeah, it was a different approach. Like when I saw that, I'm like, oh, so there's no voiceover work or like video, none of that. It was just a comic strip. And I thought that was a big risk for them to take. And a lot of people aren't going to like that because some people don't like to read. Yeah. But if you really dived into it, it was kind of cute. It was, kind of pleasant if you had the patience for it. But it was definitely different for a wrestling game.
So, bringing up the next question is about getting into streaming. So what was the push for you to get into streaming on Twitch and creating content as a whole?
The origin of me and my brand and everything that I have, it's really random, so I will warn you. So I didn't know what streaming was. I was in college. I didn't know anything about it. So this was in 2018, and I was actually dating someone who streamed on Twitch. So, after I graduated college, I just couldn't find a job. I have my degree in like communications, media, and film. So I always
we got the same degree.
Yeah, I always thought I was gonna be on like, maybe doing some like work for TMZ or something. I'm like, maybe I'll squeeze in somewhere, but I applied everywhere. I couldn't find anything. So this person was like, hey, you know what? In the meanwhile, while you're looking for jobs, you should try this. It's what I do. And I would support that person. But I didn't know what the lingo was. I'm like, who's Ninja? Who's this Tifu person? I don't know these people. But we set it up. And it's funny that we also came up with the name MissThickems. I'm like, oh, that sounds catchy. Like people are definitely gonna click on that. So we started like that, and I had really good success. And for someone who was beginning, it was just insane. And the person that I was dating at the time, it was the complete opposite. He would, get really upset about, not having that success. And so eventually brought some issues. We're no longer together. That's just how life is. And this person no longer streams on Twitch, and I do. And I fell in love with it. Yeah, they dropped it. I picked it up, and I've been running with it since. And I love every minute of it. Like if I could be on here 24/7, I probably would. But it's just kind of funny how life works. Like this person introduced me to what I consider my dream and my passion. And I don't know where this person's at anymore, but it's just crazy. Like here I am. We're in a podcast. This is great.
No, it's definitely one of the things, like when it comes to streaming, because I've more so gotten into streaming within like the last year to 2 years, and I would say that I was in the same boat, like Ninja, Tifu, like Shroud, like who the hell are these people? Because it's like it didn't. I feel like more so in the last year or year and a half is when it started to hit more mainstream. But like unless you were in it, you wouldn't know who these people are. And it's crazy to think because Twitch has been around and streaming has been around for mad long, but it's like it wasn't to the point where it's like hitting mainstream like that. So it's like now that we know about it, we're like, oh yeah, cool. But it's interesting. Like you say, your ex got you into it, and he's no longer doing it. And I know a lot of people that do get upset. Like they get upset if their partner gets into it and their partner is doing really, really well. And it's like everyone's got a different vibe. Everyone's got a different journey. And, you can't be getting mad at somebody else. You got to be focusing on your own grind. So I don't know. That's unfortunate that he got that way about it.
Yeah, I think everyone's a little bit different. I know if I put myself in that person's shoes and it's my passion and it's not going well for me, but it is for that person. Personally, I would be, like rooting for that person, but not everybody's the same. And that's something we all have to really accept. But I understand. I understand why it brought problems and why it just is the way it is. Just life hands you lemons. You got to make lemonade.
Yeah, true. And it's just one of the other things with it is like it's not easy. So, and we were kind of talking about this before we went live, but like a lot of people have this impression that when it comes to content creating or streaming, they're like, oh, anyone can do it and anyone can be successful. And it's like anyone can do it because anyone can literally hop on it. Can you be successful at it? That's not everybody, because it's not just going live. It's coming up. We can jump into marketing. It's coming up with a brand, coming up with a logo. What are you streaming? What are you creating content around? What is your social media presence? Like a lot goes into it, and people don't see that. People always see like the final product.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I was having this conversation on stream yesterday. Someone had asked me like Twitch tips, and I find it funny when like people buy they build a PC, brand new setup, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to be the next big thing. And I'm like, that's not really how it works. You have to make those mistakes. You have to, have your shitty equipment sometimes, or whatever the case is. You could hop on here, you could, stream, but then are they going to discover you? You know, are you like going to have the right content to keep those people if they do find you? So there's so much that goes into it. A lot of people think that it's easy, but it's really not. There's so much sacrifice that also goes into it, both financially and even mentally, and physically too. I always tell like my stream, I'm like, they ask me like about streaming, and I'll tell them the number one thing I hate is sitting in the chair for so damn long. So there's a lot that goes into it people don't consider, but it's interesting.
Yeah, and it's like there's the depending on how long you stream, like you have to, the stuff that goes into it. You gotta remain entertaining. You have to interact with your audience. You have to make sure the game that you're streaming is something you're gonna enjoy as well as them, because, and I think that's kind of like one of the areas where it's kind of hard to juggle, because sometimes, maybe you want to play the trending game, but if it's something that's trending, you don't want to play it, but you're playing it just for the audience sake, you're going to get burnt out. And you kind of want to avoid that. You want something that you can enjoy and they can enjoy it. Because if you're not having fun, that bleeds through. It bleeds through very strongly.
Absolutely. And, people notice that too. Like one thing that I feel like is a big challenge as a streamer is also to stay in a good mood. Like if you're losing in a game, that could be annoying, and nobody wants to be like watching somebody who's pissed off. They're going to go into another channel. Yeah. The competition out there is so much, and I always try to remind people, you want to have, good engagement with your chat, and just be trying to not take it too seriously and just have fun. Even with myself, I find myself constantly reminding myself to just have a good time, because when you take it too seriously, it's just gonna show. Yeah,
agreed. And the other thing too is like, you spoke on like the mental aspect of it too. It's depending on how much you stream and how long, like, and if you have content outside of it, you still got to do your Twitter posts, your Instagram posts, TikTok, whatever. Like it does become a job effectively. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, because if you're floating between so many different platforms and understand their algorithms and times when you need to post and all that, it gets hectic. It gets really hectic. Plus, again, sitting in the chair.
Yep, it's a lot that goes into it. Like, content creation is not just, hey, like I'm playing Mortal Kombat or whatever game it is. Like, yeah, you have some content there, but why should we watch you? And I think there's a lot of questions that goes into it. And I mentioned before, like even financially, like sometimes you got to think about like, oh, this game is going to be the hot thing. I got to buy it. I got to make sure I have money for that, and so on. And it's funny because like I actually keep like a calendar. It's like a yearly calendar of all the releases, and I'm like, man, I get paid this day and I got to do that. So it's the same exact thing with content posts. Instagram and Twitter is like, oh, there's a big game going on. I got to talk about that. And, catering to your audience is something else.
Yeah. Yeah. And definitely, I would say you're at a point now, because you buy all your games, right?
Yeah. I buy a lot of my games, and I also have people that game share with me depending on the console and PC sometimes. So,
well, I would say where you're at, you should be working with companies. Well, I'll talk to you about that later. Yeah, you shouldn't be buying games. You should.
Yeah, it depends. I think it depends too. Like, I know there's a lot of opportunities to reach out to companies and try to get those things out there. But I don't know. Sometimes like we just have people like within my mods or my friends and family that they'll be like, hey, I already bought the game, and it's like, all right, you game share with me, whatever. I guess I'll be playing that. So it's also about knowing people. And I think I have a way with that. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I guess that's how I play games.
Okay. Shout out to Evolved Bear, says Glock Mama with the shot boy.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Thank you for coming through, Bear.
So yeah, when it comes to like streaming. So how often would you say like per week do you stream? Like how many days per week and the length of your streams? Like how do you balance? Okay, that's one question. Second question is how do you balance streaming, content creating, and your outside life?
And like real life.
Yeah.
Well, I stream 5 days a week now, and my streams go from like 9:30 p.m. Eastern to like late night. Like, it just depends. Like if it's a weekday, I try to end early, but if it's a weekend, we might go to like 5 in the morning. So I kind of consider it like night into graveyard shift, East Coast time. So I used to stream 7 days a week until I found out like this is actually hurting my numbers. Like some people think you got to do these 24-hour streams like 7 days a week in order to be the next big thing, but it hurts you sometimes, especially when you're trying to go for like the Twitch partnership or the affiliate, whatever your goals are. So I try to balance things out by first and foremost prioritizing my stream. Like I want to be there all the time. If I say I'm streaming, I'm streaming. I used to have a really like tough time with balancing my real life though. Like I would always stream, and it was like people that wanted to hang out, they'd be like, oh, we can't hang out with you tonight. You're going to be live. I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to stop it. But now that I take like 2 days off, I just treat it like a job. I'm just like, I'm going to be here. The days I'm off, I schedule around it, and try to have that balance. But I noticed that before doing this, some of my relationships with family and friends took a little bit of a hit. Even with myself, I was a little more like stressed, but now I'm kind of like just rolling with it. I'm cool.
Okay. So like you're doing 5 days, like, okay, 7 days. How did you do that?
Every day at 9 I was on, and I was just playing whatever I felt like playing. That's another thing too. Like I used to, my first game on Twitch was Pokemon. And I actually used to stream on like an old MacBook Pro. It was like so outdated. I couldn't even use a capture card. And then eventually I upgraded and I started playing only Xbox. I didn't own like a PlayStation or a Nintendo Switch or anything like that. So I would like play just NBA Live. I'm like, I'm a cater to a sports community. I talk sports. Like, I think this is my thing. So I would just turn it on, and I was doing that 7 days a week, but I noticed that I wasn't getting to where I wanted to be. I felt like there was potential there to grow. So I was like, yeah, we're going to go variety. And so I went variety, and it's been history since. Like I've just been having so much fun, and now you don't know what I'm going to play. It's actually kind of exciting. It's kind of like, hey, one day I'm doing retro, or we're doing, Among Us, or whatever I feel like playing, or like San Andreas.
Yeah. And I think it's good that you're doing that. For any content creators that are watching or that will be listening later, it's really imperative to do that, because you don't want to become synonymous with just one game in a sense. And I'm going to dive into why, because you want people to come there for you, not for just what you're playing. You want your audience to be engaged and wanting to kick it with you, versus you're just playing something, they're just there for the gameplay. Because if that happens, like case in point, I've had instances like when I used to stream certain games where people would just come there just for that game. If I did anything else, they're like, oh, I'm not going to come and watch you. And this is when because I'm only recently new this year to Twitch. I was streaming on YouTube, and that's a whole nother story. That's another story. Damn you, YouTube. Anyway, but yeah, like there was a point where I was like doing like just Resident Evil, right? So I streamed through the entire series of Resident Evil, and I had certain people that would only come through just
for
because
Resident Evil.
Yeah, yep. And if I did anything else, they're like, no, I'm not messing with you.
They'll say deuces.
Yeah.
They might not even say bye. They might just go in and say nothing and just leave.
Yeah.
I know that exact like pain, and I still struggle with that too. Like even now, like sometimes some people only come in for my retro streams or WWE. They don't want to really see me play like NBA 2K. And you know, at the end of the day, that's fine with me as the content creator and streamer. I'm just kind of like, you know what? This is who I am. You know, you're either gonna be here for me or you're not.
Yeah.
So it has its pros and cons for sure. But I do think that's some good advice for somebody who's just focusing on one game. You won't realize how much you're missing out on until you try a variety.
Yeah.
And you go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had instances like with the people that only showed up for Resident Evil or only showed up for specific titles. In my community, I don't know why I said this, but I was like, yo, these people that pop up, say one thing and dip out, I'm like, yo, they're quickies. So it's like people are like, wait, what? I said, yeah, they last like 5 minutes. I'm like, I'm over here. The minute they pop up, if I see certain people pop up in my chat, I'm like, all right, you got 5 minutes. How long you gonna say? And then like by that, a lot of them don't even make it to 5 minutes, and they're like 2 or 3 minutes in. Like, all right, guys, I'm out. I'm bad. I'm tired. I'm about to go. I'm like, yeah, you ain't gonna stay no way.
Yeah, no, and you know, if you go chasing those people, you're gonna be miserable. You know, like if you're like, man, you know, this person only stays here, and you keep track of those things, you're gonna be miserable. I think what like content creators should do and streamers is try to just continue to reel more people in instead of putting the energy towards those, you know, hand few that do stuff like that. And you know, another thing I do like on my stream is like I'll call those people out just to like let them know like you're kind of corny, but it's okay. We still like you, but you kind of whack. So it just depends on you, you know. But I do think it's better to kind of just like try to move past it. But still, if you want to let them know they're corny, just let them know.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. And the one thing you pointed out that's really, really dope is enjoying what you're doing. There's so many streamers I know that don't enjoy what they're doing. And I'm like, you're not going to have any longevity if you're doing this and you're having a miserable time with it. Like, what? You gotta love this.
Absolutely. No, that's like the number one thing. If you're gonna, you know, there's people I just do it for a hobby. They're just like, whatever, I just play games. It's a side thing. But if you're really trying to be somebody in this field, it's all about passion. It's all about, because that's what's gonna resonate, and that's also what's gonna show when you're like live streaming. Like you can't hide it. You can't fake it. Like people are going to see you and be like, yeah, I think that person's having a shitty day. They're having a good day. It's just the energy is there. The passion has to be there. And, you know, it's funny, like there's people that do it for the wrong reasons. And that also shows. Like if you're just in it for like, oh my God, I need subs or whatever. So then, yeah, people are going to know like you're just kind of in it for the money. You don't really love it. So I think passion is number one, hands down.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people hit me up. They're like, so how much money do you make on Twitch? How much money do you make on YouTube? They're like, if I hop on this platform, if I play this, how many views do you think I'm going to get? How many subs? And I'm over here like, if you're talking to me like this, I can only imagine how you're going to be on stream. Because people can see through that shit hella quick.
Oh, hell yeah. Like, and, you know, it's funny. Like, I get those people too. They'll be like, you know, like, can I make quick money on Twitch? And I'm like, well, you know, you could, but not really. Like, and if you're thinking about the money, I mean, you could just go on Indeed and find like a different job or something. Because it's going to take a while. It takes a long time to build a brand, to build an audience and so on, a community. It takes a while. Yeah. It's not fast money. I don't know where the origin of that idea even started from. Like it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's weird because I see people, okay, like even on the YouTube side of it, like I know people that have hopped on YouTube thinking, yo, I'm gonna make videos, I'm gonna make, you know, a couple grand real easy money just like that. And I'm like, no, you're not. because
Yeah, it's not really like that.
it's not. I mean, it's hard, especially with YouTube. Like I tell folks, like YouTube is hard in the sense that just getting 5 to 10 views is hard because you got so many people on the platform, so many people making content. And like, I know a lot of folks that be, they're smaller creators comparing themselves to like bigger YouTubers. And I'm like, you can't compare to them because a lot of these huge YouTubers, and I know a lot of them personally, they got teams. I'm sorry. I don't have a team. So I'm not about to compare myself to that.
Yeah, YouTube is difficult. Like, people also don't take into consideration, like, when you're thinking about all these aspirations and dreams, it's like the editing process. Man, on one video, you could spend like 2 or 3 days editing one video.
One 10-minute video.
Yeah, and you're like, this thing is only supposed to be like 10, 12 minutes at most, but even 8-minute videos could take a long time if you're really trying to perfect it. There's so much to really look at, and I don't know what gives people that like quick cash mentality. Mm-hmm. It's just non-existent. And it's something that really like pisses me off. I always tell people like, yo, just put in the work. And it's funny because like if I play certain games, I notice that in certain communities, we'll get like trolls that come in to try to self-promote in the chat. And I'm like, dude, you do know nobody's going to follow you when you say, hey, follow me, I'm streaming right now. It's like, nobody's going to follow you. Go work your ass off. Stop trying to live off of somebody else's hard work. That's just the way it is. And I think that's what everything.
When people do that.
I hate it. I honestly hate it. It's and the follow for follow. It could be interesting, but I'm also just not like big on that. I'm like, eh.
What? Why do you think people do that? Like, I've had so many people pop up in my streams, or even on my YouTube videos, or hell, I'm wondering, have you had this happen too, where you make a post on Twitter or Instagram, and then someone hops in and self promotes themselves, like.
Absolutely. All the time. I think people are looking for just a quick way of like, I guess, reeling people in. It doesn't really work though at all. I don't know. I don't understand that mentality yet. It just doesn't make no sense. Like, do you really think when you are sitting there typing that message that people are actually going to be like, yeah, let me go follow this person. They sound awesome. Like, no, you look stupid out here. So it's just stupid, man. I just delete it, and like me and my mods will just like, we'll get rid of the person, or I'll call them a jabroni, just like that.
And the way I look at it too, because I used to be a club promoter, and like it makes me think of like the times when I was in the club, and we'd have like rival clubs, their promoters would come over and try to walk in the club and promote, or walk up to the line and promote, and it's like. Ain't nobody about to do that. Ain't nobody about to go over to your bougie ass club. Like, get out of here.
It's just a stupid mentality of like trying to get to a place where people bust their ass to get to in like a fast speed. I don't know. I just don't really understand it.
So Project Lee actually brought up a great point. Said people also do fake giveaways to bait people in. This is so true. I've seen so much of this bullshit. Have you? What are your thoughts on it?
I can't stand it. I can't stand it. And even I want to just add on to that is when you're doing a giveaway, and then it's like for your community, and then like random people all of a sudden find out about it and everybody's joining, and you're like, wait, do you even follow my channel? Who are you? Like, who is this person? So you have people that just like leech on, and it's just so not genuine, man. I just can't stand it. It just drives me insane. I just don't understand that vibe. I just don't get it at all.
Yeah, it's because you get those people, and it's one of the reasons too. Like I'm very leery about doing giveaways. Like I did it before years ago, where especially back when the Switch came out, I was like, you know what, I'll do a giveaway for the Switch. So I gave away like 2 Switches, and I had hella people coming out the woodwork. I'm like, yo, you don't even follow my content. And then if they did follow my content or they followed me on social media, they're over here like, oh, so when's the giveaway? I'm like, yo, I'm doing a video on a fucking energy drink. You're talking about a giveaway for like,
no, I know. I totally can relate. Like, we've had people, if we do giveaways, they'll be like, hey, when's the giveaway? And then I'll be like, oh, in a few, whatever, a few minutes, a few games in. They'll be like, okay, I'll be right back. And I'm like, are you just here for the giveaway? Like, no, you're not. It's not going to happen. And now, like, on my channel, we're kind of strict with how we do things. Like, you have to be a regular. Like, we not just gonna have anybody walk in there, because we've actually had people, and listen to this, who have won giveaways. Like, I've been open to like, hey, public giveaway, whatever, in the past, and they'll win, and it'll be like a $50. I think we were giving away like a copy of Call of Duty when it came out, and they were like, hey, can I get money instead of Call of Duty? And we're like, no, this is a Call of Duty giveaway. We're not gonna give you $60. So it's ridiculous what you see out there, and anybody who's watching this, if you're one of those people, just stop it. Just stop. Oh, it's just terrible.
I saw a comment from hold up, where they at? Someone brought up the Dominican water.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because on my stream, I get, I just get bullied all the time because I always have like Dominican remedies and stuff. And I always try to put them onto things. I'm like, they make Dominican beans, and they'll be like, Dominican everything. I'm like, yes, they do. And the other day I was in the supermarket, I was in the bean section, and I found like these Goya beans, and it said Dominican Reds, and I took a picture of it. I just sent the screenshot over to my Discord. I'm like, look, guys, I'm not lying. They're like, oh, you're right. So, it's kind of funny that they bring that up.
Yo, Project Lee says she breathes Dominican air.
That's exactly how they treat me. They say things like that. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I do. Fine, whatever. I breathe everything. I was also telling them about Dominican fried cheese, and they were like, what? That's mozzarella cheese. I'm like, no, it's not. So it's kind of funny. But I like that, Twitch allows us, and not just Twitch, but other platforms do it too, to have such diversity and meet people from all over the place. Like, even right now, like, this podcast wouldn't have happened if I didn't just go and raid a random streamer one night. I was just like, oh, hey, whatever, doing retro games, let's do it. So it's cool. Like, you interact, and you meet people from all different backgrounds, and it's awesome, like, to even have a joke out of that.
Yeah, it's okay. Talking about when you rated me a couple months ago, yo, that was wild. I'm over here like, what? Because I had only been in Twitch for like I think at least a month or a month and a half at that point. And then you came through. I was like, yo, what did I do wrong? You're like, talk, introduce yourself. I was like, it's funny. I remember that day. But like at the end of my streams, I always try to like rate a small streamer, whether it's one that we know already. But I will sometimes go into different categories. I'll be like, hey, you guys want to watch another retro stream? That's what we were doing. And we'll just click on one. We'll click on somebody. And, it's funny. We'll go through the panels. If the panels don't just say donate in like a big panel, we'll be like, okay, this person seems kind of legit. There's an about me and whatnot. And I'll always ask like, hey, how's this game going? Or, whatever, and see how the streamer reacts. And then if they're kind of cool, we just drop it on them. And I'm very thankful that my community would follow and they'll continue to support anytime they can. It's pretty dope. Yeah, it's wild though. I mean, you're all the way on the East Coast. I'm out here in Hawaii, like 2 Dominicans linking up on a podcast. Yo, this is dope.
Pretty dope. Yeah, I told you. I think it's great, man. It's awesome. I tell my people all the time, I'm like, man, we need more Dominicans on here.
Yeah, we definitely do. I mean, we need more Dominicans in streaming. We need more Dominicans Yeah, especially in the gaming industry. Like, there's only it's like as far as like Dominican gaming journalists, the only one I know is Room of Death. That's it. That's the only one I know. And I'm over here like, yo, this industry is huge. We need more people hopping in. And where are people at?
It's funny. I don't know. I don't know if they're playing baseball or just taking up different careers. But I think now with, especially like millennials and the next generation, they're definitely looking at more tech jobs, and
Yeah.
it's becoming a more like familiar thing. And I could see it more in the future. But it's kind of cool that we can be different in this field. I think is dope.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So next generation consoles, Xbox Series X. That name is. I just should call it X. I can't speak. That name trips me up. Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5. Or are you gonna get both? Which one?
So I pre-ordered both of them. I need to get Xbox because I am so happy that they're like bringing Fable. I'm like, oh my god, Fable! I fucking.
It's
love
been
it.
too long.
It's been way too long, and I'm hoping it's not a disappointment. I'm just like, man, please, because I just spent on this console just for this.
Yeah.
And some other games too. I'm a big fan of like Xbox Game Pass. I've always told people like Xbox Game Pass is literally shitting on what is it, PlayStation Now. I'm like, yeah, PlayStation Now is just not. It's not the wave. No. I tried it once, and I was just like, "Oh, this is terrible." But I also had to get the PlayStation 5 because I feel like a majority of people are going in that direction. I don't know if it's because a lot of Xbox games you're going to be able to play on PC, or just that PlayStation is awesome. So had to get both.
Yeah, because I remember when I was trying the day of pre-orders, I couldn't get none. And then you hit me up. You're like, oh, yeah, go over here. And I went over there and they're like, what is it, Walmart and Target? Like, yeah, we're not shipping to Hawaii. I'm like.
Oh, yeah, I was messaging everyone. I always like to help people get deals and like, I'm totally about bargains and like anything that I could do to help people. Mm-hmm. So like I saw that you were trying to get one and I see like 20 other people on my feed. I'm like, here's a link. So I am glad that we all ended up getting one at least.
Yeah, true that though. I mean, and it's crazy how people are saying like they're blaming like, okay, so like the PlayStation 5, right? So they're blaming Sony for what retailers decided to do. And I'm like, the retailers are the ones out here that decided to break Street Date. That ain't on Sony. You can't blame them for that.
And when people were upset about that, it was like, oh my god, PlayStation, I can't get one. But then when Xbox, like, dude, it was even worse. Like, Xbox told people when, the stuff was going to be released and whatever, it was actually properly done, but bots just took over. Sites were crashing. I was like, oh my god, am I not going to be able to get an Xbox? It was insane. I felt like Xbox was like, that whole process was much worse. PlayStation, I at least got to grab it. I'm like, all right, whatever. If you were watching the PlayStation event, you were probably on Twitter, like checking it out, and then all of a sudden the pre-orders popped up. But with Xbox, it was just a whole different story.
Yep. So aside from that, are you trying to get that? I know a lot of people are trying to get that new graphics card. I'm over here like, my computer's fairly new. I don't think I need a 3080 or 3090? I got a 2080 Ti. I'm good.
Yeah, no, I don't have any plans, but I know like my mod Project Lead, he was trying to get it, and a few others in my Discord, but man, it just sold out so fast. And then I went on eBay and I saw it for like 10K. I'm like, man, it's like a down payment on a house. That's terrible. But I've been advocating for these like price gougers and bots. Like, something has to be held accountable. Like, that's just unacceptable. So whoever's out there trying to get any of this stuff, I hope that you can get it, but it's truly ridiculous.
True that. I mean, Yeah, 10K. Well, I don't know. In Hawaii, you got to drop like 90, 150.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into like if you're ever like a first time home buyer or whatever. But normally like 10K, that could be a down payment in some states. That's like insane. And 10K wasn't even like the worst. I saw one for like 29K, and I'm like, no, this is crazy. And there was bids on eBay for this stuff, so I'm like, okay, so I guess there are people that are like really going for this stuff. It's crazy.
Man, that's wild.
It's just too much.
But it's crazy how like with especially being out here in Hawaii, like so many things, like if it's for pre-order or if it's some new coming out, you probably can't get it because we got some weird restrictions living out here. Like if it's a battery backup, I can't, or a battery charging pack, I can't have that sent out here. I have to literally go to like a Best Buy to find that. Nintendo Switch, for the longest, you couldn't buy it on any site and have it shipped here because it had a battery, which I forget if it was an agriculture issue or something, security issue for Hawaii, where the state has like restrictions on that. And I remember when what was it, the Super Nintendo Classic and the NES Classic, you couldn't even pre-order those because, again, they said like internal battery, and I'm like, yo, it's what internal battery?
How are you supposed to power your stuff up? Like that doesn't make sense.
I mean that's. I love Hawaii. I grew up here, but God, it is so hard to get stuff here. It is. That's why, like, half the time I gotta find somebody like, yo, can I order this, have it sent to your house? You send it to me, because yeah, I'm not getting it otherwise.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a crazy challenge. A lot of hurdles just for shipping. That's crazy. But it's funny you mentioned like Nintendo Switch. I was trying to get a Nintendo Switch during like when COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it was sold out everywhere. Everywhere. Even on like eBay, I was like not finding anything. It was crazy, like landing a Nintendo Switch. I got so lucky. It's just crazy.
No, it was yeah, when COVID first hit, I was shocked when I started, like, because like right, I would say like a couple days before like we had all the COVID outbreaks and the lockdown, you could go up in like a Walmart or a Target, and it's everywhere. Like you can find a Switch, find any console. The minute that started hitting, boom, out. You go online, like you go on eBay and stuff like that, or Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, people got the upsell game going strong. I'm like, good God, that much for this? Nah, I can wait.
Yeah, they were doing the same thing with like Nintendo Switch. They were like doubling the amount, and I'm like, I'm not paying $600 for a Switch. I would just wait till things kind of simmer down and just pay like, I think it was like $300. I'm like, no, absolutely not. So it's crazy. The price gouging is ridiculous. Personally, I feel like these websites like eBay, I know Amazon does it sometimes. They got to hold these people accountable. Like when you are doing way too much, maybe like a certain percentage over the retail price, it should be illegal at that point. Like that's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, they need to wait, hold on. Project Lead says the great toilet paper resale 2020. Yo, people were wilding with the toilet paper. I'm over here seeing people on like Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, like, yo, I got that 2-ply. I got that 4-pack 2-ply for sale, $50.
Yeah, it was insane, man. Like who's gonna pay that much for toilet paper? But it was crazy because you would go to every store, even bodegas, and it's like, yo, there was none. It was like, what are you supposed to like use? Like, it was just crazy.
It was wild. So how did for you both, as content creator, and professionally and personally, how has the COVID situation affected you?
It's funny. I feel like when you think of COVID and staying at home, like gamers are already used to it, right? We're like used to being home or gaming and stuff. I tried taking advantage of it. Like I knew, people are going to be home. They're going to be watching, Twitch. They're going to be they're going to have a lot of time in their hands. Especially when it first hit, I was like, this is the perfect opportunity for us to do dope shit, like create dope content. People are gonna tune in and watch. But on the other hand, you also had every streamer thinking that way. So the competition was even more. Everybody was streaming. I remember there'd be times where I'm like, oh my God, there's like 50 of my friends streaming right now. But I think I had an advantage because I do like I said, the graveyard shift, and not many people stay up that late. So I just took advantage and I just did work.
Okay. So I know that with what you stream, like you do a variety, you do a lot of retro, you do sports, you so much stuff. Like I think in a way, when it comes to like the way that you stream, it's very unique because one, friend to friend, you got a fucking amazing personality. Like it comes through. Like you're very genuine. I've never felt like, when you after you rated me and, I follow back, I started watching your content on Twitch. One thing I can say about you with absolute certainty compared to other streamers I've seen is I've never got that feeling that you're putting on a persona. You are 100% authentic and real. And that's something which I don't know why that's so rare on the platform. Like, there's so many people I've gone to their streams and it's like they're dead, and then as soon as someone comes in, boom, they're active. Or they put on this face. And I know, like, when you raid people, you check out their content a little bit before you do the raid, and I feel like you do check for that. But like, why do people put on this, I guess, a persona, this mask? It's weird.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen it a lot. Like when it comes to other content creators, I'm like, you weren't acting like this yesterday, and I'll see them in other streams and I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I don't know. I think when it comes to me, like I just like to be honest, and I like to be genuine. And I only ask that of people. And when I see you acting corny, I'm gonna tell you, you're being a cornball. And it's funny, we even have something like, we call it cornball of the week. Don't be that person, just be yourself. And sometimes I'll even get like weird people and they'll act weird or acting like they need to impress us. And the community within itself, we have so many people that will remind you, just be you. Don't try too hard. We're not impressed by people. And I've actually had like big YouTubers and streamers that'll come into my stream, and I don't know if it's because the name is MissThickems or whatever, they feel like they could kind of talk to me a certain way. And I'll be like, yo, like, I don't care how many viewers you have. I don't care how much money you make. At the end of the day, we're all the same. And I think people need to be reminded of that. And my job is, we're going to have a great time, but I'm also going to remind you, you're just like the next person here. Nobody gets like a special treatment. But I think people put a persona because they feel like they need to impress people by being something they're not. And that shouldn't be the case at all. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I'll do like funny little gimmicks and stuff like that because I'm inspired by like WWE or just funny shit. But in the core of all, I'm just always me.
So wait, is Project Elite? So every time you go live, you got 3 people trying to revolt.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'll try to just remind them, like, you don't have to do all of that. Like, please don't do that. Just be you. And don't be weird. We have it's funny, it's actually his rule is like the number one rule on the internet is to not be weird. Just don't be weird. You won't get kicked out, you won't get banned if you're just not so weird, dude. And we always have laughs about it. And sometimes too, just to throw this out there, we've had people that will come in like trolls and saying like some really like dumb shit. And we'll turn it around, like not just me, but also like the community. Like they'll come in saying something stupid, and I'll be like, you don't gotta act like that. Just have a good time. See if you like the content. Stick around. And if they continue to act like a troll, we'll get rid of them. But some people convert, and they'll be like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry for how I acted when I first came in. Like I said, I think people just need that reminder. Just be you.
Okay. He says, I kid you not. Last night, someone asked her, what's your most ideal proposal? Asking for a friend. The next day, he went, how can I wife you up?
It's funny because we also have like, we have this thing too, like the two viewers we never forget about is like one time I was asking people on stream, I'm like, hey, so like, what's your favorite pizza topping, guys? Whatever, we're just talking like food or whatever. We were talking about that. And a viewer was like, my favorite pizza topping is MissThickems. And I'm like, oh God. Like, I'm just like, no. And then I think like one of the weirdest things somebody told me was like, hey, MissThickems, I want to be in your mailbox. And I'm just like, don't do that. Just don't do that. That's just weird. But yeah, if you're on here, whether you're a guy or a girl, or whatever you identify as, you're gonna get that. You're gonna get people that are gonna tell you like really odd things, and you just gotta be prepared for it.
Pizza topping?
Yeah, we were talking about food, and I'm like, how am I a pizza topping? I'm not on anybody's pizza. Like, that doesn't make no sense.
Oh my God. Yo, that's mad wild. Like, okay, so I don't understand why people think that. Okay, first off, that's mad corny. Like,
oh, absolutely. It was like, I remember I remember closing off the stream that night, and I'm like, what happened? Like, this is just so weird, and it was just so funny.
I mean, like, oh God. See, this makes me think some people. Now, I'm agreeing with you, Derm Gamer. I agree. He's Derm Gamer says people on here can be so thirsty. Agreed. No, not just on Twitch. It's on YouTube. You see it on Twitter, on Instagram. People be mad thirsty. And it's like some of the stuff that people say, I'm over here like, one, would you walk up to somebody and say that in real life? Because like that is not how you go about trying to holler at somebody. I don't know.
I agree. No, I totally agree. Sometimes I think that to myself too. I'm like, maybe it's, you have people that feel more comfortable behind a keyboard, but
yeah,
it's really unusual, for sure.
So you know what? Project Lead is getting the MVP of this stream right now. He over here is like people come in shooting shots like Steph Curry, but they're 100% their fault.
Yeah, it's because I just don't like to entertain that stuff. I'm really scared of like people that have like parasocial relationships with online personalities. Like that stuff is legit. I think I saw a movie on that once, and I was just like, yeah, that's kind of weird, and I don't want to entertain that or even joke around. I don't want to give anybody that impression like, yeah, we're dating and you never met me and I'm just, I come on 5 days a week for you. Like there's people out there that would believe that. And I'm just kind of like, nah, I can't do that.
Yeah, you have to be very careful.
Absolutely.
With how you, and I think that's another topic we can dive into because it's like, I've had situations before where I've had people that, both out here in Hawaii and when I've gone to the mainland for conferences or different conventions where they feel like because it's a weird twisted I'm really not sure how to describe it. It's very twisted how they think, or they'll assume that when you're streaming, this is you spending time with them.
It's weird. It's so weird.
Like they'll have this idea that like you're in a relationship with them, or they have a sense of like ownership.
Yeah,
right.
Like it's weird, and you hear those stories all the time. Like, I know it's happened to like a few female streamers. Like, I'll see it on my feed on Twitter. It'll be like, oh, you know, a guy donated like 50 subs and now he thinks he like owns that female streamer or whatever. And it's like, that's not right. Like, and I always tell people that too, like, you know, and I try to keep in mind, like, you know, the people that give subs and stuff, I like to show them genuine love. But at the end of the day, everybody's just an equal. So stuff like that is kind of tricky and you always want to be careful for.
Shout out to Real Demigod. He says, thus, one of the things that really brought me to Miss T's stream, she doesn't sexualize herself or any of that shit just because she's a female, which is fine for others, but I'm not trying to watch that. And that is also something, you know, to add on to the Real Demigod that I also like about your streams too. And being straight up, you're a very attractive woman.
Thank you.
But you don't, like, that's not the whole core of what you're about. You're a gamer, you're here, you're chilling, you're having fun. And that's something that I feel like a lot of folks, a lot of females or people that identify as females, gotta be careful these days.
Yeah.
You know, like, they'll say like, I mean, not they'll say, they'll their whole thing, the whole core of them is, how can I prop up my stuff? How can I dress in a way where I'm angled only to show certain things? Like, there's no substance to the content. But with you over here, I mean, shit, you kicking ass in SmackDown. You know, you taking the W in NBA. Like, you're doing stuff as a gamer. The whole emphasis of you is like, you're a gamer having fun, kicking it with your crew. Whereas others don't do that. And I'm not trying to knock females, or again, those who identify as females. Gotta be careful. But I'm not trying to knock folks that do that. You know, you get your bread how you get your bread, but like, you can't do that and then expect people to not act a certain way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, sometimes that'll be brought up like on stream, and I always try to remind people, like, everybody's gonna try to put, you know, food on the table in a different way. So if you're a boob streamer or whatever, like, at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do to make things happen. And I respect that. But I think with me and like my brand and just the name in general, like MissThickems could be a kind of controversial. Some people don't feel comfortable saying it. They'll be like, oh, Miss T, or they'll just call me Jenn. And that's fine with me. I know that the name is going to bring in some curious people. People are going to click on it and be like, MissThickems, who that? And I'm going to be like, it's me, you know? But when you, the whole thing behind it is kind of like, you're going to click on the name, but when you come in, you're going to see something that you weren't really expecting. You know, you're going to see me like kicking ass and like, you know, SmackDown or NBA, whatever I'm playing. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to treat you with respect. I'm going to, you know, just try to be funny. But if you're like, oh, like, nah, like you don't really match that name. Well, technically I do, but I just don't do that here because this is my job. This is my passion. But if you wanted to see that, you go on Instagram. You go and, you know, whatever. You run into me in real life. You'll be like, okay, I get it. So I just think I have a respect for what I'm doing on Twitch. I don't want to identify as, you know, super sexy on here. I do that outside in my real life or and on social media or whatever. There's a time and a place for everything. And I grew up knowing that, and I try to implement that with my name and my channel and so on.
Okay. Brother Deuce says, what's dope about Miss T is she's genuinely into her hobby. She can talk about sports, games, wrestling, and she asks her chat who's their favorite, which keeps us involved. Healthy, fun debates in chat. And that right there, like, authentic interaction. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen this before too. You are a good roaster. That's that Dominican side, though. That's that Dominican side.
That's definitely like the Dominican, like, tri-state in me. Because, like, I don't know. Maybe we're kind of bold. Like if you've never been to like New Jersey, New York, PA, like you know, Philly, whatever. If you've never been to this side, it's gonna be a little bit different. You know, it's gonna be like a little, I don't know, just out of the ordinary. But like people in this area kind of know, like we're bold, and sometimes we're gonna say things that might offend you, but it's real, and you're not gonna like really counter it because it's legit. And I try to do that, you know, with respect, of course. But if you're being corny or if you're being like out of character, I'm going to tell you that. But it comes from a place where I want you to be better. And if you're not going to do that, then I just can't have you around me. So when I do roast people, I try to do it with respect or some sound buttons, you know, just to be kind of funny. But absolutely. And again, Durham, thank you. I appreciate your comment.
I was gonna say because it definitely is a Dominican thing because I do stuff. I didn't even give it this name, but it got nicknamed the campfire because like any and everyone can go on the campfire. We keep the fire stoked, and it's like I'll just go into roasting somebody, and it's not even it. Okay, again, I'm gonna say this just to preface it so no one takes this out of context or sound bites this. When I roast someone, it is not from a place of maliciousness. You just said some shit that's real corny, and I gotta keep it $1.50 with you. So
absolutely,
you know, I'll say something, and I'll just go into roasting them, and it's not it is what it is. You say something mad stupid, you know, stupid games get stupid prizes. So.
Yeah, I totally relate to that, man. It's definitely that. It never comes from a bad place.
So, but people be getting in their feelings, though.
Oh, yeah, they do. And it's funny when people are on their bullshit and you call them out on their bullshit and then they get upset about it. It's like, yo, nobody told you to be acting like that. So it has its pros and cons, man. But it could be funny sometimes to see how people react to it.
So I had this one. Well, actually, let me see. Are you in this person likes to lurk in my streams? Let's see. Are they? Yeah, I don't see. Oh fuck it. I don't care if they're in the stream. I'll just say it anyway. I do what I do. So I had this one YouTuber who I think he found your channel through one of my raids as well. But like, so he used to be like I used to support him on Patreon, channel memberships and all that, right? And he would always say to me, he's like, yo, I'll support you back as soon as I get money for it. Dude's over here making $7 to $8 grand a month
on
gosh. YouTube. And he's over here telling me he ain't got money. All right. And I'm not saying that I'm in this for the money. It's cool. If you can donate, support, sub, whatever, yo, I respect it. But the fact that you kicking it, watching my shit, listening to my shit, that's 100% right there. That's support. But yeah, he would always say that to me, and he said that to me one day, and then next thing I know, he posted up like, "Oh yeah, I went and bought like 3 Arcade 1-Up cabinets. Them joints ain't cheap. They like $500 each." And so I did a roast on, and I the one thing I said about him, I'm like, yo, I think it's kind of mad corny that he over here saying like, you know, I support you as I'm supporting him, but he go out and buy 3 $500.
That's crazy, man. So he's selective with his money, which is like, you know, at the end of the day, you gotta like let people be, but it's kind of like, okay, I see your true colors, you know, and like you see that too, like with the people that support you. I always tell people like when you're gonna start off streaming and stuff, don't really expect your like close people to really be in your streams every day. It's just not the way it is. It's sometimes the strangers that are gonna come in, drop in 100 subs, and you're like, who the hell is this? But you made an impact on their life. So that's why another reason I feel like you can't really be in it for the money. You can't be in it for, you know, any type of like financial gain or any of those reasons, because it's just not the way it is. It's just gonna go. You got to go with the flow of things. It's just gonna happen naturally.
Yeah. One of the things like I definitely want to ask you, because I it's so funny. It's funny I say this. So again, as I said, #1 podcast in Hawaii, right? 4 years straight or 5 years straight. Funny thing is, I have almost no support from people in Hawaii. People I grew up with, people I know. They over here like, oh, you're playing on the internet. Oh, you're talking to a microphone. Like there's no respect in that sense. I shouldn't let it bother me. It kind of bothers me because when they want something, they want me to drop everything I'm doing to help them. But anyway, yeah, fuck y'all. I love y'all, but fuck y'all. Anyway, so,
you could say that. You could say that again.
Right. So it's like it's funny how I have people, and literally my audience, I got people all over the world, people all over the U.S. that show love, that support, that come through, that kick it with me, that are in my Discord and more. And people I know 2 houses down from me that know me, that went to school with me, that kicked it with me, don't support at all. Don't check out nothing. Do you get a lot of support from people where you're from that you grew up with, or do you mainly get support from people all over the world?
I think it's word of mouth too. Like as far as like, at first not really. Like I think it was just kind of strangers and like some people that I knew, they would come through. Like maybe out of 10 days I streamed maybe like twice. But I think word of mouth started really like taking over when I reached a certain point. Then people in my town were kind of like, oh, so you took this seriously, or oh, like you're actually really into this, like I gotta check it out. And then I'll see people like from where I'm from come into my streams, and I'm kind of like thinking in my head like, what are you doing here? But whatever. So it's just a mixture of things, and I come from like a really like tight family, so my family is always being supportive of me, and I think I rely on them so much, like my immediate family, and they'll check out whenever I ask them like, hey, I need you here. But I understand now that people are busy, and even the people that my strangers, my people worldwide, like I know sometimes they have real life things going on, and I'll try to remind them like on stream. I'm like, I get this. I understand this. And you'll have people that be like, hey, Miss T, I haven't subbed this month, but I will when I get paid. I'm like, do it when you can. Yeah. Like we're not going nowhere. The emotes aren't going nowhere. Just do it when you can. I get it. There's like real life shit going on. So yeah, it's just, you got to find balance when it comes to that one.
Okay. And the other thing too, how, in your career as a creator and streamer, how is your family and those close to you? How do they view what you're doing? Do they take it as seriously as, because it's, for those who think it's not a career, I'm sorry, we sign tax forms. This is
we
work.
Do. This is definitely work. Well, at first it was really challenging for a Dominican mom who doesn't know anything about like Twitch and all this stuff to really understand what was going on. It's funny because like I mentioned before, like in my relationship, she felt like my new passion was taking up too much time, that like she would remind me, she'd be like, yeah, like Jenn, if you don't attend your boyfriend, like you're gonna lose him. And I'm like, you know what, I kind of don't care. Like I love this, and it took her a while to really understand like this is real. Like I would have to explain to her like, yes, I'm playing video games, and yes, I have people watching me, and like no, you can't knock on my door to pass me a plate of big food like plátanos with like salami. And it's kind of funny like at first, but I stuck in there and I kept with it. And now she gets it, and now she's rooting for me, and she's like, yeah, like how's it going, and like I hope the door's open for you. But as far as like my siblings, they've always been supportive, and just people like my best friend, she's also supportive and spreads the word, and I think now I'm at a comfortable place with that. But at first it was hard for my mom to understand, because I feel like her generation especially didn't really prioritize, like they didn't even know of these type of jobs. you know, they were thinking like lawyer, doctor, whatever it was, you know, going on then. But I took a different route, and here we are.
Yeah, it's like I know with my family, I think for my family, there's like of course, coming from Dominican families, we got huge families, but there's like huge age gaps between me and my siblings. Like, you know, I just turned 32, so my oldest sibling is closing in on 60. I'm the we didn't know you were coming along, baby. That's what I was. So like the closest sibling I have to me is like 7 or 8 years older than me. But you know, as far as like my siblings and whatnot, they don't. One understands what I do, but like he doesn't really too much care. And then the others just don't get it because I guess the generational thing. My parents don't really get it, but because my mother. I think my dad too, they think everything is like, oh, you're doing that Facebook stuff because to them, social media is Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook.
And I'm like, yo, I'm on Facebook only for like Messenger, but anything else, I'm kind of like, nah, I'm good. But yeah, so like they don't really fully understand it. I know even some like my half siblings, they're closer in age to me, like they don't really get it, but they understand that I'm doing something. You know, when I get certain guests on, like I've gotten actors on, I've gotten folks on, they're like, oh, I know who that is. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, so you're not just playing video games. I'm like, yeah, I never was, but all right, now you know.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if it's really like a generational thing or even a cultural thing, you know. Maybe it is that there's not enough Dominicans really like setting that standard. I don't really know what it is, but I know it was definitely a challenge, like for her to understand. And I you know, now they're kind of like, we're wishing you the best, but they're not like so invested like I am, but they are supportive, which is great.
Yeah. It's and one of the things is like with content creation, like it can be a very, especially when you have people that don't understand what we do behind the scenes, what goes into it. Like it can be lonely, honestly. You know, like especially like you said earlier, we're sitting in a chair in front of a screen and a camera for mad long. Like it can be very lonely. It can do a number on your mental health, but at the same time, there's that passion that we have for it that just keeps us pushing through. And then you meet a lot of cool people along the way, and that's one of the things too. Like with community building, and especially when you keep it 100 like you do, like people see that, they respect it. You get to build your community up, and it's literally like you make friends with people you've never even met that sometimes can be more 100% there for you than people that know you, which is I found to be wild.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think that's the beauty of it, really. Like, just with the internet in general, like you can meet so many people on here that you haven't physically met, but they have such a greater impact, or they support you more than people you know in your real life. And I think from here on out into the future, like we're gonna see those challenges and we're gonna see those obstacles as technology advances and video games advance. Like some people feel more comfortable behind a keyboard and a camera or whatever it is, but it definitely could be lonely. Like there's days where you're just like, man, is this worth it? Am I like living my real life? Like, or am I wasting a bunch of time? And I think that's where passion, like we said before, has to be number one. Like you're just like, I love this shit. Like I'm gonna sacrifice. I gotta do it.
So swinging into, we're going to interject some questions from the community. So Project Leet has a question. Let's see. He says, if you could go back in time to when you first were starting out, what would you do? What would you have done differently?
That's kind of hard to even answer because I'm just kind of one of those people. I'm like, no regrets. So like I have it tatted right here. If there's anything that I can change, Probably not doing it sooner. Sometimes I always tell people like, man, I wish I didn't go to college. I wish I just would have started streaming. I would have saved money and time. But everybody goes at their own pace. So, it's really not much to pick from. But if I had the opportunity to start sooner, I sure as hell would.
Okay, so you said something. I feel like we got to dissect it. So college, I got the same degree. Do you feel like that was a waste of time?
Yes and no. And when I say yes, it was kind of a waste of time, is because I'm like, man, like I'm not even using my degree like legitimately. I guess you could make the argument that I am, because I'm still kind of like broadcasting, but I'm just kind of like, I never went corporate or anything like that. I never like got on a big network or anything, so maybe it was a waste of a time. But then I try to be optimistic, and I'm just kind of like, no, I did learn some stuff. I learned a little bit of like video editing. I met some cool people. I went through a couple of challenges and whatever, like I built certain skills. It's funny because like in college I took like a radio class, and I freaking hated it. I hated it so much. I hated being on the air. I hated being a disc jockey. And I was actually like the music director for the radio station, and I was in charge of putting music on the radio. And I hated the restrictions. I'm like, oh my God, we can't play this and that. So now looking in the future, I'm kind of like, I'm glad I can have control in my stream. I'm glad I could just be me. And I'm kind of like a disc jockey, if you want to like throw that in there. So it's kind of funny how things plan out. So I would say, yeah and no. There's always good and bad things about it.
When I graduated college back, I'm old. Okay, when I graduated back in 2008, that's when we had the recession and everything like that. So I came out with a degree, and I couldn't do anything with it. And on top of that, social media started taking off. So like marketing firms and all that like started becoming relevant, because you can just hop on social media and then you can promote yourself. You don't need to pay a company to put your stuff out. And people were getting into content creating on their own back then. And that is a part of me that also thinks like, damn, I should have been doing this way sooner. But
yeah,
I think it's one of those things where it's like, at least for me, there was a point where I'm like, I needed to know that there was someone else doing it. I didn't see anyone like me doing it back then. So I was like, okay, maybe it's not for me. And then when I hopped into it, I'm like, shit, I should have did this. Maybe I should have been one of those pioneers, and just did it back then. But I'm with you. The whole regret thing is like, yeah, we can think about it, but at the same time, the time we're putting into thinking about what we could have, should have done is time taken away from what we could be doing now. That's how I look at it.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Let's see. What else do we got? We got, when will you play God of War?
It's funny. I have a code for it and I haven't redeemed it. I don't know. Hopefully soon, whenever I have some time.
Let's see. Durham Gamer says, do you see yourself doing this for a long time?
Yes. Lord willing, I hope I can do it all my life, to be honest with you. I actually have visions of myself as like an old lady, like still gaming. So yeah, I hope to do it all my life. I don't have any plans of quitting or anything stopping me.
There's nothing wild about that either, too, because like there's this YouTuber and streamer. I think she goes for her name is like Food for Dogs. She's like 70, 60, and she knows her shit when it comes to gaming. I'm over here like, yo, can I can I do that? Yo, can I be at that? I want to be that grandpa. Like that's cool. That to me is cool.
I like that too. Yeah. I don't know. I see myself doing it. It's like, or at least as long as the passion is still there. You know what I mean? Like, as long as I'm still passionate and I have this fire, I don't see myself stopping.
Okay. So one of the things I know you do modeling as well. How did you get into that?
Well, it was more so a hobby. Like I just do it for fun. Like, at least I used to do it for fun. I haven't done it recently, but I hope to pick up on it, like just dabble here and there as a hobby. But I used to be a photographer, like in high school and in college. And in college, I would do like the newspaper for like the college. So I was taking pictures and writing like sports articles and entertainment articles. So I always thought I was gonna like I said, before we went on the air, I was telling you, like, I thought I could be working for like TMZ or maybe like an ESPN or something. Just thinking so naive. So I don't know. I liked it. I was like always trying it, taking photos. And someone like told me, it was like, you should try being on the other end. Like, whatever, you have like really long hair and, whatever. So then I met a professional photographer one day, through a friend, and they were just like, hey, you should come over to the studio, just bring a few outfits. I brought like a whole duffel bag full of stuff, and we took some pictures. They came out great, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll do this as like a little hobby. But I didn't want to take that too seriously. People always tell me like, oh my God, you should, and I'm just like, it's not what I'm passionate about. So I don't see it as like a career. Maybe I am a good fit for that, but if I'm not passionate, I'm not doing it, because I try to do everything with my heart, and if I don't have it in me, I'm not doing it. Not gonna do it at all.
No, I respect that, because if your heart's not in it, it's not gonna be as good. So no, you're doing the right thing by that. Project Lee has a question. Says, was there any one thing that you felt really pushed your streaming quality to a new level?
There's a lot of things. Definitely, like recently I upgraded like my computer. Oh my God. I used to stream on a laptop like for like 2 years, and now it's like so much better. And I upgraded my internet, and it's funny because like I always tell people I live in a really old house. So like if like everyone here is using their air conditioner, my electricity, like the circuit breaker just goes down, and we got to go down to the basement. I got to turn shit back on. So I'm already at like a disadvantage, but the computer was giving me issues on the internet. So once I did that, and I like made the effort to build a PC and upgrade my internet provider, I actually changed FU Comcast.
Yo, everyone says that. Is it trash?
That shit is terrible. So as soon as I made the switch, man, I kid you not, like it hasn't collapsed. Like it was so bad that I had to put a command. Like I put a command in like my bot, and like my Stream Elements bot. And it's like, hey guys, like if the stream goes down, Miss T is gonna run to the basement, bring the circuit breaker back up. Just like hold on 5 minutes. Yeah. But like now we haven't been able, like we don't need to do it. Like at least we haven't had to do it. So I would say that definitely helped upgrade the quality of my stream, and it's been less stressful. Like it would be so stressful, like having like maybe I'll get a good raid or something, you have a good amount of viewership, and then it would just drop.
Okay. Let's see. He has another question. How do you overcome the adversity with streaming, mentally speaking? Things like low viewership or chat activity or technical issues. That's a good question. That's a really good question.
It's funny like that he's asking, but I feel like my mods also do such a great job of like keeping me leveled. So like right now I have, I believe it's like 4 mods. So like sometimes our conversations, like it'll just get my mind away from those things. Like I'm not looking at chat or whatever. Like, I mean like the activity or maybe like the viewership. Like I'm just not focused on like, oh my God, I have to reach a certain number, this and that, or just having fun. Like sometimes it's the games that I'm playing. It would be like, I'm actually playing a game I enjoy, that I'm losing myself, that I'll have to be like, hey chat, I'm going to catch up with you guys in like 5 minutes. Give me a second. You know, like I just would get lost in the fun. So I think that's how I handle all that stuff. I know that some people will turn off like their viewership count, or, you know, they'll try not to like really pay attention to their chat, to not be like, to not feel that pressure. But I think with me, I'm just like, if I have fun, I'm okay. And then, you know, like we said before, people are going to see that. People are going to be like, wow, it looks like you're having a good ass time. I kind of like it. Whatever. I'm going to stick around.
Okay. Yeah, I've, you know, again, given that I'm still new to streaming, like for me, and I think he's still in the chat, but like when I first got into streaming, effectively like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Zero Fanatic, shout out to you in the chat, was that person. He was that dude. When I had one person watching, he was that dude. And so it's like, I don't personally care how many people I have watching. Like if you come through and kick it, that's cool, you know. But like me and Zero, like when I was playing Gears of War or Gears 5, I was playing through the whole campaign. When that game came out, that launch was busted. God.
Yeah.
That game. I would get like hours in and it's like, you can't progress forward because it didn't save and the servers kept crashing.
Yeah, I remember that. And you would try to play and then it would just like kick one of your friends out and you're like, oh, restart. Everybody restarted.
So like for me, like I would, so it was just me and him, you know, like it didn't matter what I streamed. He's always coming through, you know, he kick it with me. So it's like me and that one viewer, that to me was hype. And so like for me to get more people, that's cool. Like I like it when I get more people coming through. It's more people to talk to. But at the same time, I know a lot of streamers that are like, if they've got less than 10 viewers or so, they're all depressed. And I'm over here like, here's the thing. The one thing people can't give back is time. And that's the one thing a lot of us give away too freely. So if I got 10 people watching, if I got 5 people watching, 15, 20, 30, hell, if I got one person watching, that's one person that's giving me time from themselves that they can never get back. And as a streamer, I feel like I need to appreciate that. And so it's just wild when I see people trip about their viewership, or you got these, what do they call them? Stream coaches that are trying to charge you how you can up your viewership. You got to act this way. You got to act that way. Like, yo, I don't know about all that.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Like that one person can make up for a whole lot. And I always tell people too, like even in real life, like outside from streaming, like sometimes it's not good to have so many like I'd rather have like 1 or 2 real friends than like 15 fake ones. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes like 1 or 2 people are just enough. Like, and like I said, like my mods, for example, I think they're incredible. Like they level me and I could have a good time. And I feel like we've established such great relationships that at the end of the day, as long as I have my real ones, that's enough for me. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it should be like that for most people. I think some people are so caught up in like impressing others or trying to like be friends with everybody. You're not going to be friends with everybody. Not everybody's going to like you. You know, just try to appreciate the ones that are there and actually like you for you.
Yeah. Let's see. Brother T says, oh, why did I say Brother T? Anyway, I read Brother and I saw T and I was like, oh shit, my bad. Brother Deuce says, T, if you could only play one game for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would have to say it has to be SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, or I'm going to say maybe like a Grand Theft Auto game or something, or Fortnite too. I feel like I could play Fortnite forever, or Stardew Valley. It definitely has to be that, like a wrestling game or one of those games, because I don't know, I get lost in those games. Like Stardew is such a chill game. I could be on there for hours. Like my first time playing it, I was like playing 9 hours. I'm like, damn, I've been on here for a long ass time. But like Fortnite, I like to just, I like the competitive aspect of it. I could play with friends. And then SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, it's literally like, even when I'm streaming it, sometimes I'll go like so overboard that I'm streaming like an extra 3 hours. I'm like, man, I'm just having fun kicking ass. And I know these wrestlers. I grew up, you know, with these characters, and I don't know, you could make so much out of it. And it was such a fun game because it was like you're still doing like fake moves, like there's the SmackDown punch you could like just throw yourself off of, and it's like he didn't die. Okay, cool. Let me do it like 10 more times.
Yo, the part where you can climb on the helicopter at Madison Square Garden. Yo.
Yeah. So it's like I could do that like 20 times. Sure, why not? I'll be here all day. So and definitely one of those games I could play for the rest of my life and not have anything else.
Okay. Let's see. Dev8631 says, Jenn, advice on someone who just started streaming. Top 3 things.
Top 3 things. Entertain your chat. Don't forget about your chat. And if you don't have anybody in your chat, talk to yourself. Somebody will come in there. Somebody's going to click on your stream and they might just be lurking. And then you're like asking questions, even if nobody's there. And then you'll be like, you know what? Let me type something in there. Just hang in there. Another thing is this one's kind of optional, but like some people hate to hear it. Use a camera. Please do use a camera. It's going to make your life easier. No, seriously, hear me out. Like when you don't use a camera, it's making your life harder. Like to people for them to like click on your stream or your content is going to be tough. You're competing with so much. And I feel like when you use a camera, you'll be quick to get people in, but you also got to be able to keep those people somehow with your content. So content is definitely king. And then the third thing I would say is just like, watch out what games you play. The overly saturated ones, when you're like starting off, is going to be really hard to establish yourself. Aim for those communities that might have a lot of viewers, but not that many people streaming, and know your hours, like when you're streaming. Like, you know, you might get more viewership at night than you do in the day, or maybe the day is better. You got to play around with it and find out.
Nah, that's true. That's that's true. And it's like, you know, so the reason I clap, I'm over here like, yo, preach, because so many people I know won't use a camera, and I understand, like, if you may be camera shy or whatever, but the thing is, even having a camera, you ain't gotta have nothing fancy. You can go to Target, Walmart, Best Buy, pick up a Logitech C920 for like $50-$60. And already you're putting yourself further ahead of the pack than most people by just having a camera.
You can even get one for like $30. Like, yeah, right. Like you could get like a small one for like $30. But yeah, no, there are camera shop people, but some people aren't like confident with the way they look. You know what I mean? Like I've seen some streamers that use like mask, and that's their identity or whatever. Maybe you don't like how you look, but you know, having a camera is really important. Like this is going to be a job where people are familiar with you. They're going to want to know what you look like. They're going to want to know a little bit about you. And I'm not trying to tell people that don't use a camera to feel discouraged, because my thing is, like, if you're not going to use a camera to be a really successful streamer, you got to be really freaking good at the game you're playing. Like I'm talking like A1. And if you're not that, and you're just like, maybe you're funny, but you don't have a camera and you're not that good at the game you play, there's so many other channels that provide such great presentations. Going to just be more of a challenge for you. Make your life easier. Just throw on that camera. Yeah.
And it's, you know, that comes to like the marketing aspect of this too, is like, yeah, you know, to touch on what you said, to add to it, if you're not going to have a camera, which look, you don't have to have one. It helps. It does put you ahead of the pack. But if you don't have a camera, like she said, you got to be really good, or you need to have a fucking personality.
Absolutely. You got to have a personality, or the content has to be phenomenal, where people are like, yo, there's this person who has the best, like, whatever, shotgun or the snipe shots and Call of Duty, you have to see them. Like, your content has to be like to the point where people are like, you gotta see this in order for you to be really successful without a camera. And it is possible. Like, I know there is a streamer that like in the NBA 2K community who got like a logo without even, you know, having a camera. So maybe he was that good that he just created that buzz. But how many of those of you are out there? That's the next question. It's not a lot, you know. So I try to tell people, you can't give them the advice of like, yeah, it's possible. It's like telling people like, yeah, you know, you could be a rapper and be a millionaire tomorrow. Like, that's not the case. You know how many rappers there are? There's so much music out there. So you kind of have to find your niche and try to make your life easier.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we have y'all got any more questions? Drop the questions. If not, well, I mean, y'all got. We gonna be completely respectful of your time. Got probably another 5-10 minutes, but one of the things I wanted to ask is, because we haven't touched on it all stream, sports. How much does sports play into who you are as a person, as a streamer, as a content creator? How strong is your love of sports? Because I see that Eagles poster behind you. Let's talk about it.
Sports is huge. Sports is like, it's definitely, oh my gosh, I want to say it's a great portion of me, but also my streams. Like, sometimes that's my content to speak about. Like, you know, during COVID when sports was like, yeah, we're not doing it, I was at least lucky that WWE was like, yeah, we're still going to be here. So I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. That's my content right there. That's what I like to talk about. But I think it creates for great conversations. I would say right now, like, the top sports I follow is probably the NFL and NBA. And I still dabble like MLB, of course, and just starting to get into UFC. But I always stay up to date with it. And I think there's a lot of content there to really grab from, and I made it a part of my brand.
Okay. All right. So Project Lee, he says, please don't talk to her about Carson Wentz. What we talking about? Why is this gonna make the podcast go for 5 hours?
Okay, you know what? We won't get into it, but I will say this. I have a rule when it comes to sports and people. Don't disrespect somebody's quarterback. Just don't do it. Just, if they're into NFL, don't disrespect their quarterback. And it's actually a way you get banned on my channel. If you talk bad about my quarterback, I don't like you. You're dead to me. That's it. I don't care. I am a brutal Eagles fan. When we won the chip in 2017, you had Eagle fans like on poles on top of cop cars. I'm one of those Eagle fans, and I always try to remind them, like, I'm proud of that. So we won't get too into it, but that should show you how passionate I am about sports.
Oh man, yeah, that's wild. Okay, yeah. If y'all seriously, y'all got questions, drop them. You know. No, I think it's really important, you know, sports to. It's something great to get passionate about, because I feel like right now, and this ain't to get political, but I feel like really we need something else. We need some other energy, something to focus our attention on, because it's like, shit, when I go on social media, all I see is one thing, and I'm like, yo, I need to go over here. What's going on in basketball? What's going on in NFL? What's going on in WWE? I need something else, because I don't know. I have this thing about vibes and too much of one thing. I'm like, yo, I can get negative real quick. But
absolutely, like, it's a good form of entertainment, you know, and it's also just a good form of competition. I think is dope. You know what I mean?
She was going into talk about the old line, Doug Peterson, and the lack of cheese.
Yeah, you know, I drive them crazy all the time about it, but you know, it's something I also take advantage of when it comes to like my stream and my content is like, not only am I talking about my team, but I want to hear about yours. And I'll always ask questions about who is your favorite NBA legend of all time, or your favorite team. So in a way, it's like creating content for the chat and for them to be interactive, not just for me, but for people to make friends. Sometimes you'll run into like, oh, hey, like I always see you in the chat, but I didn't know you were a Laker fan. So am I. So like you'll get those people in there. And I want to create an environment and a place where people can have fun and just be themselves and feel safe. Like it's kind of like a little safe haven. And I think sports definitely brings people together.
Yeah. He says top 5 NBA players, all time and current.
Oh, that's tough. You already know my favorite of all time is Tracy McGrady.
Good choice.
I guess I'll throw in some names of people I like. I can't really say like they're, oh my God, they're my all-time fave, but I love Allen Iverson. I love Kobe Bryant. I grew up in that era, the good era. See anybody else that I really loved? I loved Ray Allen and Rashad Lewis in Seattle. Current, Russell Westbrook is my favorite. And I know he's a bit controversial, but I love athletes that bring in that type of attention. Even in football, like my favorite of all time is Terrell Owens. Anybody else I really like in the NBA right now? Oh, I like Ja Morant, Jamal Murray, and trying to think. Today's NBA, I'm sure there's a few others that I can't think of the top of my head.
You didn't say King James.
I did not. I don't hate LeBron. I don't like love him. Like I'm not his biggest fan or anything. I appreciate what he has brought to the game, and I like him, but I won't be like, yeah, he's like my all-time favorite. He's just not. I tend to like other types of players.
Is it controversial for me to say he's a little like he's good, he's great? I kind of think he
complains about fouls. It's today's NBA that's definitely a little bit different. I always remind like my stream, I grew up around the time where you had like Steve Francis and Cuttino Mobley and like, Duncan and Garnett, like nitty gritty guys. It was definitely a different time where like there was hand checking and stuff. But in today's NBA, like you get a lot of guys who get fouls for just like flopping or acting like they took a shot. And it's just a different time we're living in. And the thing when you think of LeBron James, you think of all his great accomplishments. You don't want to take away from that. But is he playing in a time where the NBA appears to be a little bit more soft? I guess that's up to you to decide.
I was trying to, I was beating around the bush of that, but I was about to say, yeah. Soft.
It's a different era. And when I hear people say stuff like, oh, Jordan, just controversy around Michael Jordan, it's like, do you guys know that time in basketball was like no joke? It's nothing like what you're watching today. But you won't know that stuff as if you didn't watch it. And I'm sure that people from like the 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s are probably saying the same thing about the 90s and the early 2000s. Like it's just a generational thing. There's gonna be changes and different opinions.
Yeah, I just feel like LeBron kind of he buys into his own hype. Is what I feel like, and and to touch on to what Real Demigod says, like, and I fully agree. He's an all-time great, but I think he gets too much credit, and others that play to the same level don't get enough credit. And that's something I do definitely think about LeBron. When people say, he's the greatest ever, I'm like, I don't know about that. I think if he had to play in Jordan's era or in Kobe's prime and his young era, I don't know. Could he hang? Maybe. Would he be as standout as they were? They played a much more physical game. They weren't as soft. the league wasn't as soft as it is now, in my opinion. That's controversial. Don't at me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, you have people that think the same. I don't know if people are bold enough to ask those questions. I don't think they're ready for those questions. But I agree. He is an all-time great. And would he have lasted or endured during those times? Maybe. We don't really know. But I will say that the officiating in NBA right now is something of a concern. It's interesting. But it's definitely something that plays a big role in today's basketball.
Okay. Dev8631 says, when you playing NBA Live again?
I don't know. Maybe I'll come up with an idea to bring it back soon.
Real Demigod says, I honestly believe that Ray Allen saved him a title with one shot, LOL, but I get hate for bringing stuff like that up, so whatever.
Yeah, but some people aren't going to give that credit to Ray Allen entirely because some people felt like the whole series, like, LeBron showed up for it. So that's probably why you're getting hate for it. But I do think that shot really was everything.
Okay. All right. So, we've been chopping it up for a while. We've been kicking it. The thing I want to ask is there anything you want to say before we go? Anything you want to leave the audience with? Or actually, screw that. Ignore me on that. I got another question for you.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to anyone who wants to get into like content creating, streaming, and whatnot? What advice would you give?
Just be yourself and have fun. I know it sounds like mad cliche, but like when I say be yourself, like really be you. Like if there's things that you're not happy with about yourself, try to work on them, but don't be afraid to put that out there. Like sometimes I tell people like, and it's funny because we have this joke that I'd be like, I'm the Dominicana with the big head and all that. And I'll be like, I have a gap in between my teeth. I like to be goofy. I like to be fun. Just be you. And whoever has a problem with that, let that be their problem. And try not to live up to these standards and have that pressure on yourself, because you'll have so much more fun just being you. And I always try to compare it to, like, I don't know if you ever watched the movie like 8 Mile with Eminem.
Yeah.
And it's that scene where he's kind of like roasting himself, and then when it comes to that other guy to kind of roast him in the rap battle, he just doesn't know what to say about the guy who just roasted himself. So, and then, Eminem ends up winning in that scene. And it's kind of like that. Like, you should live your life like that. Like, to the point where you're so genuine and honest and authentic that people can't have anything or to shit on you, Just, like, be you. And have fun with it. You got a long journey if you're in it for the long run. Just have a good time.
Definitely. And anything you want to leave the audience with before we go?
Yes. So first and foremost, thank you for having me. I had a good ass time. I feel like, it's pretty dope that we could come together as creators and just kind of like, just lay it all out there and have good conversations for whoever's out there listening. And you want to pursue it. It could be you one day. Maybe you'll be sitting here one day. I don't know. So thank you first and foremost for having me. And, shout out to my mods and my community, everybody who came through, and make sure you guys follow Kasanova, support other creators. It takes 1 second. It don't cost you no money to just support people. So please go out and do it, especially if you're expecting the same. Treat people with respect. And that's it. There comes out. Drop the mic.
And for real though, like I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you're busy. To come on the show. I know we were actually supposed to have done this last week, but I ended up having to. I had a doctor's appointment and I needed to reschedule it. So we're a week late, but the thing is, we got here, we did what we did, and I'd love to have you back on the show again, Jenn. You've been an amazing guest. You've been dropping gems throughout this entire podcast. I greatly appreciate it, and we just gotta make this happen again.
Absolutely, man. I'm always down, and just keep doing what you're doing, and you're doing good things out here. I'm just wishing you the best.
Yeah, and make sure you bring that Dominican water next time.
Yeah, I got some. I'm gonna bring the bottle of Vicks too. I got it. I got it down packed.
All right. So with that being said, people, that wraps up another episode of the Kasanova podcast. You can catch it if you're watching it right now. You're probably watching it live on Twitch. So it'll also be uploaded to YouTube. So youtube.com/Mekel Kasanova. And if you're looking to listen to it, if you're watching, I'm gonna do this because this is where it's at. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Pandora. We just got on Amazon Music. Amazon reached out to us to get the show over there. So now we're on Amazon. So catch us over there. If you want to support, we got Patreon too, patreon.com/Mekel Kasanova. Whatever you invest in me, I reinvest into the podcast, the channel, and everything that we do. Got a great Discord community. And if you haven't already, make sure you follow MissThickems. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. And other than that, I'm going to have all of her social media outlets, her Twitch streams, all the stuff. Y'all go and follow, sub to the channel, follow her channel. That's prime directive. If you follow me, I'm telling you what to do. Do it. Other than that, though, just be you. Be cool. Don't be creepy. Don't be weird. People on the internet be wild. Don't be stupid. Just have a good time. Good vibes all around. And hope y'all have fun in the chat that's watching. Thank y'all. Shout out to each and every one of y'all that came out. Thank you to the new folks that follow. I appreciate y'all. Donut Gang represent. And with that being said, we'll catch y'all on the next. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. I hope it was informative, engaging, and you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure you go ahead and leave a rating and a review. It greatly helps out the podcast and helps the platforms that we're on go ahead and promote us more so that more people can check it out. And if you're wondering what all platforms we're on, aside from what you've listened to it on, we're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Pandora, Spotify, Amazon Music, and more. And if you want to support the podcast, then we've got Patreon, so patreon.com/Mekel Kasanova, which allows us to continue doing what we're doing. If you're looking for this in video format, we're also available on twitch.tv/Mekel Kasanova, as well as youtube.com/Mekel Kasanova. So with all that being said, I'll catch you on the next episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast and the #1 podcast in the Pacific, the Kasanova podcast. You have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.